So, needless to say, though I've said at length, this album was highly regarded when it came out in 2003 by many a critic.
So it went down okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was decent. Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another Friday episode of the Audiophiles. Hope you're doing well out there. It's John and Andy, and we are going to devote this episode to a song that was offered up by one of you guys out there in the loyal listening audience. And we saw that Robert-KL2PP offered up this track on our episode devoted to the Shins and their song Port of Morrow that we did some time ago. And lo and behold, it is another Shins song for us to give a listen to. Now, I'm pretty familiar with the Shins discography and their songs, so this one fell on John to react to and give a first listen to. So, John, you've got everything you need, man. You know it's the Shins, and it is a song by them called Saint Simon. So, please, let us know what you make of it.
Okay, will do.
After all, these implements and text designed by intellects so vexed to find evidently there's still so much that hides. And though the saints dub us divine in ancient fading lines, their sentiment is just as hard to pluck from the vine. I'll try hard not to pretend, allow myself no mock defense. Since I don't have the time nor mind to figure out the nursery rhymes that helped us out and make a sense of our lives. The cruel.
Okay, that's a nice start. It's straight out of the gate like a whippet. There's a lot of words there and I'm struggling to pick up on them. But the sound of it's really interesting. Is this like choppy guitar and this nice bouncy piano. It kind of reminds me of XTC, Oranges and Lemons album, where they're sort of homage to the Beatles. It's very Beatlesque, but with that twist to it. His voice sounds really young. But yeah, really nice, pleasant start. Let's see how it goes.
Uneventful state of apathy releases me. I value them, but I won't cry every time one's wiped out. I'll try hard not to give in, batten down to further wind. Read my head at this pretense, allow myself no mock defense. Step into the night. La da da da, la da da da, la da da da, la da da da.
That's pretty.
La da da da, la da da da. But Lucy's eyes are blue when she places them in front of you. Nothing holds a Roman candle to solemn warmth of you inside. No measuring up, nothing else is left.
I didn't want to break it there. That was really pretty how it sort of changed melody. The strings came in and then the la 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 doms came in as well. Really nice. I was getting real smatterings of like McCartney type sort of melody flow to it. And that guitar was really pleasing, simple, really pleasing.
Not to give in, batten down to further wind. Read my head at this pretend. Allow myself no mock defense. Step into the night.
Yeah, that was fun and pretty and almost like a sort of mosaic of melody towards the end. And as it's sort of fading out, you're just hearing the string. That felt really Beatlesque as well. Um, yeah, this is really interesting. It must be much earlier in their career compared to what I've already listened to, which Andy's given me, and it's a different take on this. I like this, probably not as much as the songs he's given me before with them, but this is a very different side to them. Um, I think I'll have to listen to it a couple more times to really appreciate it, but instantly, I liked it a lot. I love the flow of it. It's really pretty. Yeah, this is interesting. We need to know more. And to do that, we must go back and talk with Andy.
All right, welcome back. So this is like what the Shin song that we've done, and we've done other Mercer stuff with Broken Bells. What did you make of this one?
Okay, so I think I'd said right from the start my position on the Shins is that I listened to their album Wincing the Night Away after much hype
Yeah.
from the music industry, music media, couple of friends. Thoroughly disappointed with it. Dismissed them completely out of hand. And your efforts have changed my mind on the Shins. I have to say, if you held a gun to my head, I'd say, "What the hell are you doing holding a gun to my head?" But I would say that
From
I
such a great
probably,
distance.
yeah, I say you're gonna miss. You know, the range of those things is like 100 yards or so. I feel safe. But I would say that I probably have liked the Broken Bells stuff more than the Shins that you've given me, but I've liked both and liked them both quite a lot.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't gone back and listened to Wincing the Night Away again because I'm worried that I still wouldn't like it, and then I would go back into that frame of mind. Wow, But so I'm just, it's tucked away. Um, So yeah, this was interesting, and so now I'm really open-minded about the Shins now, in terms of really enjoyed the previous stuff. And this one, although different in sound, was just as entertaining and pleasing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this. No, I won't. I'll get into it. So he starts straight from the gate. He has is it all right or something he says, but it's like he's like a whippet out the gates with his word salad. And you have this choppy bouncing rhythm as well. So you have this sort of curt guitar that's and a gambling piano underneath, pinning Mr. Mercer. I
Hmm.
remember. Yeah, there's a lot of words coming at me. And like a contestant in the finale of The Crystal Maze, I'm struggling to hold on to any of them. Have you ever had that program over there?
No.
Okay, well, it's like this competition as a team. They go through different sectors in this so-called Crystal Maze, and there's the Aztec, and there's science, future industrial, there's medieval as well. It was initially hosted by Richard O'Brien, the guy who wrote the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh,
He
okay.
was really charismatic. And then it was Ed Temple Tudor who famously featured Who Killed Bambi in Great Rock and Roll Swindle and Swords of a Thousand Men. I digress. But at the finale, they win time in the crystal at the end, and it's like a pyramid. And they have all these tokens. There are silver tokens, which are minus, and gold tokens, which are plus. And they have to grab as many gold tokens, and if you get so many, you get the prize.
Hmm.
And then they're in there, and there are all these tokens on the floor, and they go, "Start the fans!" And these fans start, and then they go around like this.
Oh,
And that's how I felt trying to pick the words out. They were just coming at me. There you go. Some very
he is
long-winded
very
way of saying
verbose in like
and
in the
this.
scanning of this. Yeah, yeah, a lot of
Yeah,
words.
yeah, which is different to his other stuff. But I find it a little bit unfortunate because just first listen, do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because I had such rich reward for, particularly from Broken Bales, but some of the other stuff as well. His lyrics are really interesting, and I really struggled to catch any of it. There were certain words that pinged out, you know, nursery rhymes and intent, and I don't know. But anyway, overall, let's just scrap the in terms of the lyrics. Although I did like the way he was singing. So there's some nice backing vocals that sort of joined in at the end of I think it's like the second line where it's just so much that hides, and that repeats that sort of a couple of lines later. So the overall impression of this first sort of verse um, is that it would not be out of place on XTC's Oranges and Lemons. That is Swindon's finest homage to the Beatles,
Yeah.
and it's
I
there.
was waiting for you to drop a Beatles reference in here somewhere. So it's one degree of separation, but it's still making its way in, it sounds like.
And that's was most suitable because it's like somebody else's take on the Beatles, and
Hmm.
this is another take on a take, as it were. So yeah, you're right, but it really it does sound like that. It has that prancing nature to it,
Hmm.
um, and it's like the singer is taking us for a stroll whilst delivering his views on whatever it is he's delivering on catch. But I can almost picture. Him like walking towards the camera with animated sort of countryside rolling behind him, like the hills moving and stuff. It's like that sort of thing, and you're going along for a ride with him. It feels quite benign as well. It's not angst ridden. It doesn't feel angst ridden anyway, musically. So then we get to this bit, which I kind of think is a chorusy part or pre-chorusy part of sorts. And there's a lovely addition of glockenspiel, I think it is, which adds a touch of whimsy to the aural
Yes.
landscape in my head anyway.
Yeah.
That's what it signals. Um, and then he has this. Sorry to say, I'm going to, not the first or last time, obviously, that McCartney type leaning on a note as you're about to turn the corner, as he sings "Step into the Night." I mean, that's just really straight out of the playbook, which is great as well. Um, all these times when I do mention this, it's not in any way a minus point. It's
Yeah.
it's actually a plus point every time I see one of these. So then we get these extended vocals. His voice, I noticed, sounds really young here. and so I'm guessing it's early in their career. It does sound much more fresh faced than the Broken Bell stuff, especially, you know. Um, and it's
Even
certainly a
before
different,
this even precedes Wincing the Night Away, just for some context
really.
as well too. So yeah, because Wincing the Night
Wow.
Away 2007 or something like this.
Is
Uh,
it?
yeah, so this comes before that actually. So it gives you an idea of
Yeah,
how early on this was.
yeah. I mean, it's certainly different to what you've offered up to me before in terms of even the tone of his voice.
Mm.
Um, At the second time round, we get to Step Into the Night. We get these extended vocal notes, and it feels like things shifting. In fact, again, pictured in my mind, um, you almost see him on the stage, and the lights sort of go to him as he moves to one side, and in the background, you can just see very faintly the stagehands moving the set around. It feels like there's that sort of part of the song, which you often get,
Mhm.
Um, and then in comes the la 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 dums, which is really, really nice. And the introduction for the first time of strings. So the tempo slows to a gentle waltz almost, and his delivery matches it. And it morphs then into a different but even prettier melody for a while. And it's just so charming. And this is I think I talked to them actually, the flow of the whole song. You get these turns and twists, but these turns feel natural, like the course of a river, rather than, you know, right turn Clyde. Which you get in some songs where and that's done deliberately quite often to do that, but this just as part of that stroll. You get walks where public, it's particularly in this country, sort of highway, public access walks. And the ones which go like that, they call donkey tracks
Mm.
because they were built many, many, many moons ago. And a donkey goes where it fucking likes.
Yeah.
There's no telling it to go straight on. And it felt a bit like that at this point. It's just really, really pleasant. But it just also felt correct rather than forced or wrong. So then along comes this very, again, don't want to say this is a derogatory plodding, but thoughtful and very pleasing guitar part around the sort of 2:10 mark. I noticed. I was trying to write this stuff down, but the music was so interesting. Yeah, it actually, even although it was very gentle and thoughtful, it actually felt quite emotional as well. For me anyway. And again, more McCartney vibes, sorry. But and then we go back into the verse again. And we have these added little bits and pieces. There's some extra sort of really higher la las that aren't the same as the la la dums, but they're just going away. Um, and then we go back into the la la dum section again, for a second time. And at this point, it's hard to explain, but this bit is the highlight for me. Is when we're doing this again, you got the strings, and then his voice comes back in and he says a line, something about eyes of blue or something. It's like that last piece fitting into a jigsaw or something. It just fits beautifully. And it's just the tone of his voice and there's a touch more strength to it. It just hits this crest of an emotional wave. I just love that little bit. Just that bit. It's just the bit. I mean, the whole song's great, don't get me wrong, but that bit was lovely.
Yeah.
There is a sort of noodling high guitar, I think, coming in. By this point, I'm just blown away. Um, and then it begins to fade and it slowly goes out with just the strings faintly left to close the door behind them, which again feels Beatlesque. So, yeah, overall impressions. I really like this. It was pretty. It was a nod to one of my favorite bands ever. It was constructed really well. I think I get more out of it with each listen because I didn't catch the bloody words. Um, I still probably like Broken Bells slightly more, but this is just the first listen, so this is definitely like potential. But I really, really enjoyed this.
Yeah, yeah, I thought you would, and I'm glad that it was recommended. It was only a matter of time before I started going back to earlier Shin stuff. And there probably will be more in 2025, especially given how you're now warming up and changing your kind of opinion
Yeah,
on
yeah.
this. Um, So yeah, you touched on so many things that were like hot button words or phrases that I had equipped to kind of, follow up on what you've said, but it would just be redundant at this point. But like McCartney, the Beatles, both of those, I was waiting to mention how much he's taking his songwriting from not only the Beatles, but a specific Beatle with this song, in sounding so much like McCartney's style. Also, charm and whimsy are two words that you use to describe this, and this song has that in spades. So yeah, similar effect on me the first time, and every time subsequent listen I've given to Saint Simon. So I'm glad to see that we're kind of on the same page as far as how we ingested this song. And it's kind of fun for me because I listened to this thing like 20 years ago for the first time. So it's great to hear your reaction. It's so fresh, and it reminds me of the first time I listened to it. So I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as I did, John. So let's get into the band a little bit, but focus more on sort of this era of the band and the album and stuff like that, because we've covered a lot of Mercer stuff as we've mentioned in the past. So I'll just do a quick recap of the band. They're an American indie rock band formed in '96 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the band is the project of singer-songwriter James Mercer, who has served as the band's sole constant member throughout numerous lineup changes over the years. The band's lineup for this track and its album include James Mercer, vocals, guitar, harmonica, and production, Dave Hernandez on bass, guitars, and productions, Jesse Sandoval on drums and production, and Marty Crandall on keyboards and production. The Shins issued their first release, the 7-inch single "Nature Bears a Vacuum" in 1998 via Omnibus Records. Following the completion of their debut single "When I Goose Step," the Shins embarked on a tour with Modest Mouse. Mercer became a hermit, crafting what would become the group's debut album, and became depressed with his life in Albuquerque. Friends of the band, including Zeke Howard from Love is Laughter and Isaac Brock of the aforementioned Modest Mouse, sent record labels cassette demos of the band's songs, while Mercer sent a demo to Sub Pop Records in Seattle, Washington. Label co-founder Jonathan Poneman caught a concert in San Francisco while the band was on tour with Modest Mouse, and he offered the band a one-off single deal. And the Shins' second single, "New Slang," was included as part of their Single of the Month series, issuing a 7-inch single to fan club members in February of 2001. Positive press for New Slang made the group's debut album one of the most anticipated indie rock albums of 2001, and Sub Pop would sign the band in full. Before you knew it, my whole life was upside down. I got signed, I quit my job, I moved out of town, and the big relationship that I had been in for over 5 years had come to an end. All of a sudden, my whole life was up in smoke, recalled Mercer. The band's debut LP, "Oh Inverted World," was released in June of 2001, with a compact disc version following the next month. Much of the album was recorded prior to the Sub Pop deal in Mercer's basement. Basement recording has become a theme with Mercer as well. The album received critical acclaim and solidified the band as one of indie rock's definitive artists, while also placing Albuquerque on the musical map with "Oh Inverted World's" gloriously skewed pop and dripping with yearning, whimsy, and brittle innocence. The album helped reestablish Sub Pop Records as the dominant force in the independent community. The label had been without a marquee artist for many of the prior years. The group spent the rest of the year touring with acts such as Preston's School of Industry and Red House Painters. New Slang proved to be a stealth hit, helping "Oh Inverted World" move over 100,000 copies within 2 years, considered remarkable for an independent label. Sub Pop had hoped the record would sell 10,000 copies. For just some context, they 10 times the amount of their expectations for the amount of units pushed. That's pretty incredible. Mercer was positive in licensing the song to a variety of media, confirming to the New York Times that he received more money from touring and licensing than in record sales. The royalties Mercer earned from the commercial allowed him to purchase a home and relocate to Portland, Oregon, where the group built a basement studio. And their second album, Shoots Too Narrow, on which this track featured. Having cut ties with bad relationship and a bad job, Mercer felt his songwriting reflected a broader perspective as a result. Although recording in the basement was less than pleasant, the band found it cheaper than a real studio. The home was broken into at one point near the end of the recording process, and thieves stole the mastered tapes of O Inverted World. So the master files are now in some crack addict's basement, Mercer told Rolling Stone in 2003. The album, whose name comes from the lyrics in the song Young Pilgrims, was produced by Phil Ek and the band themselves and was released in October 2003 through Sub Pop. The album was very well received by critics, garnering an overall score of 88 out of 100 on Metacritic. Shoots Too Narrow features cleaner production standards than the Shins' lo-fi debut, O Inverted World. This is largely due to the album being mixed by producer Phil Ek, who had also worked with Built to Spill and Modest Mouse. Shoots Too Narrow also departs from the band's previous keyboard-driven sound and shifts towards a more emphasis on guitars. The album also included violin parts on Saint Simon, played by Anne-Marie Ruljanicic, I hope I got that right, and was nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Recording Package. Shoots Too Narrow was met with critical acclaim upon its October 2000 release. Matt LeMay of Pitchfork designated it Best New Music, summarizing that not simply an excellent album, Shoots Too Narrow is also a powerful testament to pop music's capacity for depth, beauty, and expressiveness. AllMusic's Heather Phares wrote that the band excels at sounding happy, sad, frustrated, and vulnerable at the same time, which is interesting because that weird dynamic was alive in this song, where like at points his vocals and his delivery sounded like they had they bore some remorse in them, or some reflective nature. But there was this whimsy to the way the music moved. So it was interesting, a little bit of a roller coaster ride. So I think she's dead on with that synopsis. And their best songs, whether they're fast or slow, feel like they're bursting with nervous energy. Again, nervous energy is an excellent way to describe it. The New York Times' Khalifa Sanaa called Shoots Too Narrow a sly, restless album that includes a cryptic protest song full of sugary harmonies and disconcerting slogans, and a dreamy meditation of ontogeny. Rolling Stone gave the record 4 stars, with reviewer Barry Walters commenting, "It must mean something that the freshest indie rock boasts tunes more substantial than what is sold in the mainstream," and added that the album is a study in old-school pop songwriting full of 60s-style psychedelic folk rock, abundant pop hooks, and James Mercer's imitable high-pitched croon. Robert Christgau of the Village Voice called Mercer a gifted melodist with an arranger's knack for psychedelicizing simple. This is not a word I use often. Simple structures and folksy fondness for an acoustic strum. Q called the record a leap forward, while Uncut wrote that you don't expect progression from such evident classicists, but there's a new clarity, poise, and refinement. Mojo wrote that the album sears through the essence of what makes this band special: the brave voice and ebullient delivery of singer-songwriter guitarist James Mercer. Spin Zach Crane compared their style to their fellow travelers, the New Pornographers, who have featured on this channel, writing that the Shins are reverent and referential, practically documenting their source material with footnotes while acting like they own it. And finally, Dave Simpson of The Guardian opined that the downbeat self-deprecation permeates the record. He wrote that there's a certain small-town romance vibe throughout. They're not adverse to surprise. Shoots Too Narrow appeared on numerous music critics and publications' end-of-year albums lists. Stylus magazine placed the record at number 3 on their respective list, while Billboard and the Village Voices Paz and Pop followed at number 6. Pitchfork placed the record at number 7 on their year-end list, writing that Shoots Too Narrow shattered expectations, a meticulously sequenced, stripped-down collection of indie pop gems encompassed endless Technicolor universes. Mojo also placed the album at number 7 on their list, and Rolling Stone on an unordered list of best albums of 2003. So, needless to say, though I've said at length, this album was highly regarded when it came out in 2003 by many a critic.
So it went down okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was decent. Well, let's get into these lyrics, of which there are a lot. After all these implements and texts designed by intellects, so vexed to find, evidently there's still so much that hides. And though the saints dub us divine in ancient fading lines, their sentiment is just as hard to pluck from the vine. I'll try hard not to pretend, allow myself no mock defense as I step into the light. Since I don't have the time nor mind to figure out the nursery rhymes that helped us out in making sense of our lives, the cruel, uneventful state of apathy releases me. I value them, but I won't cry every time one's wiped out. I try hard not to give in, batten down to fare the wind, ride the head of this pretense, allow myself no mock defense, step into the night. But mercy's eyes are blue when she places them in front of you. Nothing holds a Roman candle to the solemn warmth you feel inside. There's no measuring, nothing else is love. There's no measuring of nothing else is love. I'll try hard not to give in, batten down to fare the wind, rid my head of this pretense, allow myself no mock defense, step into the night. Mercy's eyes are blue, and when she places them in front of you, nothing holds a candle to the solemn warmth that you find inside of you. And those are the lyrics, my friend. I have this little write-up that says the song is about how much we don't know, and the question that, according to Mercer, can be answered by science or religion. Mercer opts to face the harsh winds of life by admitting ignorance rather than lying to himself, and ultimately finds comfort in love. So, I think the reference to intellects and scientists and all this stuff, and the nursery rhymes that we help to make sense of the way things are in life and why they are, is it sounds like that this synopsis probably holds some water, and that is kind of what we have going on here. Mercer, such a good lyricist. I mean, the assonance and the way that everything kind of bounces off each other, that has this wonderful rhythmic pattern that even if you didn't hear the song, once you start reading it, you fall into it. And it almost has it's almost a throwback to the way some of it's structured. It's almost like 19th century English and literature, and the way sentences were penned and written. It's really great shit, man. I love the Shins, and I'm glad that you enjoy this as well. Please.
Yeah, you mentioned there the sort of the way it's constructed verbally. That's
Yeah.
what reminded me the most of XTC as well. Andy Partridge is the same thing.
Okay.
And he harks back to certain styles and melodies which are, medieval, for want of a better word, sometimes.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. Well, this has only rejuvenated my want to bring more early Shins to the channel. So in early 25, I'm sure they'll be making another appearance on the channel, whether through perhaps a recommendation on this very video or one of my own. We will be seeing more of the Shins down the line. John, thank you so much for giving this a listen. Robert-KL2PP, hats off to you, sir. This was an excellent offering by you, and I'm glad that you found time to drop it in our previous Shins video. Thank you so much. people out there, let us know what you thought of this Shin song. If there's others that we should check out, obviously we're interested in doing just that. Please feel free to drop comments down in the comments field. We love hearing from you guys. Also, like, share, and subscribe if you'd be so inclined. We really do appreciate that. Also, we're in the throes of the holiday month, so happy holidays to everybody out there. And hopefully we will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys.